Cool. I'm Nathan. I'm the founder and CEO of Ganymede. Prior to this, I worked at Benchling as the product manager for some of Benchling's data products. And I'm here with Karthik from Tolmar. Karthik, I'm curious to hear a little bit about Tolmar and your work there.
Yeah, so I'm Karthik Konnaiyan, working as a senior lab automation engineer at Tolmar, and we do specialty injectables. And then like my role is kind of like integrating all these scientific applications all together,
Hmm.
and then like making a sense out of it.
Okay, cool. And I'm curious, what kinds of challenges do you usually run into with those sorts of systems? What are the biggest pain points for you in your automation work?
So I would say like tagging the data,
Hmm.
like because like every system generates its own type of data, and then like you have like identifiers like sample type and like the sample IDs and all those things,
Yeah.
but still like you want to know like on the process side like what configuration you're using, like
Yeah.
because like sometimes you do retesting and sometimes you just like run the test like in a different way to get some certain result, but those things are not recorded properly. So
Yeah.
those are like valuable information, right? Because always you should not only look into the success or the past test. Like you want to like learn and understand like why it failed and what you try to do to make it right.
Yeah, I feel like capturing that context and structure, it sounds like you're pretty far along in your automation journey to have gone to that point, but I feel like that's where it always ends up is like you can get all the data you want, but associating with the context and the meaning of it is hard.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of bottlenecked on how far along is the ELN or LIMS in terms of how much it's used and structured and actually adopted at all.
Right.
Um, what sorts of so I'm curious if you found any good ways to try and associate that data, or do you find that in your work you end up having to do a lot of like the people management, change management kind of stuff as well as the actual coding?
Yep. And also like the projects that we are currently working is like to make all the data harmonized,
Hmm.
so that like even though it's coming from a different system, like it gives the same story. So that is the part we are currently working on. But again, like at the small scale, but we just like want to learn about like if there are like an industry standard, or
Yeah.
like if there is a guideline, right? Because that is the part that's missing in this industry. And like a typical automation engineer like me will know like the pain of like having different types of data and like each saying different stories, and like you want to put together all the bits and pieces to make like a proper um, kind of summary on what you're doing and like how things were generated and everything.
Yeah, I feel like it's absurd that you still personally have to care about the fact that, okay, these are all plate readers or these are all chromatography systems, but you actually have to care about the fact that any of the different instruments are physically different instruments. You shouldn't have to worry about that, and yet you do. In 2023,
Oh
it's
yeah,
crazy how far behind it is.
right. And especially with the other industry, right? It's kind of easier, but in the
Yeah.
pharma industry with the regulatory stuff, and also like you want to be a little bit careful and what tool you're using and how you are trying to manage them, because like yeah, those are like kind of crucial. Like you want to document and you want to
Mhm.
like kind of have the audit trail of everything, but the audit trail should also make sense to you, because you can't like let's say like 5 years from now, right?
Yeah.
Why that particular sample was run like 3 times? It's not captured anywhere.
Yeah.
Like you want to dig into that, like, and you want to find like if there is a quality event or something like that, like a change control that's tied to that particular sample, then you will be digging and like you will be, oh, okay, maybe this is the reason. But if there is a standard or something like a way to tag those information, right, along with that data that we are capturing, that will be like a best thing to do. Because like in the realm of artificial intelligence, that's going to happen. Like I mean, like in few years from now in the pharma industry, because always the
Yeah.
pharma industry is a little bit behind. But still, like once we start to adapt that, you need to have like a solid database, right? And also like that should have all those relevant information. So it's kind of easy to like kind of link everything together to make a sense of it.
Yeah. I feel like on the standard side, one of the problems that we oftentimes see is that it's hard to get. Well, one of the things that we find is that the instruments, to be fair to them, they are very, very complex. And so even two types of the chromatography systems will have different capabilities. I think one of the things that we find on that, to be fair to the instrument manufacturers and the instruments, is they're very complex, and the same two chromatography systems might have different capabilities built out. When they're like $200,000-$300,000 systems, no two houses are the same, even if they come from a similar blueprint. But I do think that's where standards need some evolution, because the value of standardizing the data is so high. But just saying, oh, this is the abstract version of like an ideal, platonic ideal of some data is not enough. It has to adapt to all the capabilities and edge cases that are in the instruments. And so I'm optimistic that as like more folks get in and actually are trying to drive the automation and run into these edge cases, hopefully that can get into the standards over time and make them actually work a little bit better.
Yeah, everything is happening in silo now, right? Like I mean,
Yeah.
I will be working on my own little stuff that I have, and then there will be a big pharma, and they will be developing all their own custom solution and standards. But
Yeah.
if there is a way to kind of harmonize everything, and okay, at least you should have this information in your data, so that can be useful, and that can be if you want to share the data and all those things, it can be relevant. The other person on the other side of the table, they can make sense of it. And yeah, that's very important. And as you know, there is a study in the McKinsey where a typical employer or a worker, they kind of spend 2 hours, every day, to search and retrieve information alone.
Yeah.
And
It's absurd.
And again, yeah, think about it in the pharma industry, right? That's even yeah, you have you generate a lot of data, and you need to preserve everything. And let's say 5 years and 10 years from now, yeah, you don't know what happened there. Even though you have audit trails and everything, but still it doesn't say the whole story, or it doesn't give you the whole picture. And I think that's most crucial, when you're going into the advanced analytics, because you can bring all types of new technology and platform and everything, right? But once you don't have a standard where you can just consume the data and make sense of it, you are going to spend more time into managing and manipulating the data to just give it to the model to make sense out of it. So the time that you spend now, I think that will be very useful and crucial for the next realm of things, whatever going to happen in the AI world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I think one of the most horrifying things I ever heard was talking to some clients. They have this concept of ELN days, where every Friday, my whole Friday afternoon, all they do is data entry.
Copy paste, yeah.
Yeah, all is copy paste. Go find the data that I ran for the week. Go to all the instruments and go get the data and then paste it in. And I was even telling one client about that, and they said, "Oh, people have ELN days. I thought we had ELN months. Our ELN month is December, where they just all December is them entering in all the data they did for the year. And how can you remember what you did then? And they're just jamming the data in. They're not putting it in a structured format where you could actually make some use of it further down the road. So yeah, I feel like there's definitely some evolution needed, but at least we can see the problem now. And I feel like automation takes us towards that, of being able to see the problem and then find a better way to work, hopefully.
Yep. And there should be a data linkage, right? That's a crucial piece. Yeah, you collect all the data from different systems together. And then sometimes for example, the room temperature, the humidity of the room. Those are critical factors as well. Because even a small deviation that might have contributed something to the end result, right? But if you are trying to capture everything, and if you can interlink everything with some standard technology or whatever, right? That will be very beneficial. Yeah, I will be kind of working towards that if that is a possibility.
Yeah, we actually, funnily enough, just yesterday, I think the press release went out. We announced our partnership with Elemental Machines for exactly that reason. And I feel like you talk to some people sometimes and they're like, oh, well, Elemental Machines, that's more like environment data. That's different than the scientific data. But it's not. It's all part of the run in the context. And if people don't realize that you just have to get every piece of the context, the humidity, the temperature, it affects the outcome of the run. So that's exactly why we partnered with them for that reason, because we have the scientific data connected glue. They have the hardware and sensors. And then together, I think that forms just ever better of a picture of that data. I guess I'm curious, as a final question here, what are you looking forward to seeing at the conference this year, and what are you looking forward to next year, if there's anything that you'd like to see?
Yeah, this year, I mean, mostly as I'm in the lab space, and then all the scientists, I want them to work on the science stuff, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to worry about the lab setup and how things are kind of collected and all those things, because they can spend more energy on the actual scientific methods, whereas like a person like me in the automation space, I want to get to know like what's the current technology, where the industry is heading. So that's crucial for me because this is the one place where you can collaborate and you know like what's happening in the other industry, so that you can just like have that thoughts, and where you can just like, okay, that might be a good idea. Maybe I should like tweak that and bring it to my realm of things, what I do. So that is the one thing I'm trying to like get sense from this Future Labs Live. And the next year, what I want to see is, like everyone are talking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all those stuff. But like before that, I want to see like if there are any guidelines, like how to like collect the data, how to preserve it, and how to transform, and those kind of stuff. Because as I was again mentioning, like that's very crucial before entering into the analysis phase. Like you want to standardize everything, or you'll be spending more time on standardizing rather than doing the machine learning and all those advanced analytics stuff. So
Yeah.
that's what I want to see next year. If there are like topics over there, yeah, I just want to get like more information.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cool. Well, thanks for stopping by here and
Oh, sure.
chatting with us.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.